What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York, calling from the quarantine zone again, and this time we got Courtney of Spiritbox. Thank you so much for your time today. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. The two singles that you released are just absolutely killer with Constance and Holy Roller. Could these maybe serve as like a clear representation on what the full-length Spiritbox album will sound like, or is that just scratching the surface?
These are, they're like I'm screenshots isn't the right word. Each of these songs weren't even meant to be singles. They're just the result of us going from having like a clear trajectory of what we wanted to do in 2020 and then everything crashing down around us and not being able to record our full length album. And then this is kind of like the result of that, of the wreckage, what we felt like we could put forth and kind of just what we want to do spur of the moment. So it's like we have little turnaround times of 2 months, a month and a half, and it's kind of like a little snapshot of where we're at in our lives at that, pretty much like that exact season. So the album, meanwhile, has just been like marinating. I think it's only I think it's only gotten better because now we've had like an extra year almost to work and develop the songs.
Yeah, I was about to say, anybody who's working on music like between March and now, there's no excuse. You have plenty
No,
of time.
no, and so I think that these two songs, to me they represent both the both extremes of the spectrum of what we're gonna put out. It's like the heaviest thing we're gonna put out, and then I think the heaviest thing we're gonna put out, and then the heaviest content of a song, lyrically that we're gonna put out. But they were both never meant to be singles. They were both kind of, one was like supposed to be a fun palate cleanser on the album that was just full blown heavy, and then the other was kind of, we envisioned it to be the final closing song on the album for Constance, that we didn't even know if we would make sense to put out as a single, and they were the ones that we felt like we could engineer remotely ourselves.
Yeah, well, I noticed that like I was reading about Constance, and I know that that's a very personal song for you. And then like Holy Roller, which was a straight up like banger in a way. Do you like sometimes think of a concept beforehand, or think of what you want to address in the song, and that could help influence the music in a way?
No, I've always just been one of those people that I don't write anything till I hear the instrumental of the song. Like I don't ever sit there and write poetry. The only thing, or a concept, the only thing I do is if I hear a cool phrase or a cool word, I write it down in the notes of my phone. So I have like this giant ongoing notepad of like writing prompts kind of. That's it. I don't even remember where I found some of them, but I'll have to like go back on Google and be like, what is this? What does this mean? This phrase I heard. Um, and that's just how I've always done it. Like the instrumental inspires the little world that I am writing about in the song more. Very jealous of people who come up with whole concepts before,
Well,
like for lyrical content.
you escape the heartbreaking scenario of having the best lyrics ever, but then they're always like one syllable over like the arrangement of every song or anything like that.
Oh,
So you avoid that obstacle at
no.
least.
No, I couldn't even fathom that. I write the melody before I write any lyrics, so I just sing gibberish, and then the lyrics kind of just, they just kind of pop into my head slowly. It's like a little puzzle. So I'll get like 30% of the puzzle done, and they're not even like in order of a sentence that makes sense. And then eventually it just will like show itself to me. It usually like the day I'm trying to like frantically scramble and write everything down like before it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but like what's interesting is with collaborating with the musicians and everything like that, the music has to resonate with you in a specific way, right? I feel like you all have to get to know each other first, so you know like in a way what to write, right? Like if you mentioned like capturing a moment in the music, and it really does that. Do you find it maybe like the longer you're working on something, the harder it is to kind of like maintain that moment in a way?
Yeah, this band's never put out a full length album. We've never, we have commitment issues. We've always been we've just done EPs and singles. So, we've never had to commit a year in advance or 6 months in advance to songs, and then commit to this is going to be a single that we're going to put out 6 months from now. So it's definitely going to be really different, but we also want to like give the album a chance and give it the best chance. So we do want to make sure that we promote it really well, but it's like completely opposite of how we normally do things. And I feel like I'm also always worried about like overthinking the songs, like I'm like, are we doing too much? Are we changing them too much? But I don't know. I feel like it doesn't matter how much time you have or how little time you have. I feel like every artist just puts like so much pressure on themselves it's never good enough. So it's, I think it's just, everything that we do is an experiment, because it's always, we're new. So it's everything's our first this and first that. Yeah. So I think it's just, I'm just trying to trust the process. I'm like, they're just getting better. The songs are getting better and stronger because we now waited almost an extra year to record them, and it's going to make for a better album.
Definitely.
I hope.
Definitely. You're on the right path. I can tell you that much.
Thank you. It's so crazy. I was just talking about this in another interview. Like when you're a new band or you've always been trying and it's not ever working out the way you want it to, it's like you just always hear no, 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 no. Everyone's saying, we don't know. We don't want them on our label. No, we don't want to book the band. No. And it's like, that's always been a strength. Like we're like, yeah, you don't want us, whatever. We don't want you. We're going to show you. And now it's all these like people saying yes, like and embracing us and accepting us. And it's weird. I haven't ever hung out in that little feeling before. I've always just been like, I'll show you.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Well, I feel like, the music is fairly experimental anyway. I mean, I remember like listening to Holy Roller, being like, wow, this is incredible. I'm buying that. And then saw that you released a new song. I was like, same band, but completely different, style, but same emotional result. So like, it has to be easy to try new things, right? It almost seems like there's so much flexibility for what you're able to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that a lot of bands feel like they're in a box and trapped because you don't establish to your fans right at the beginning that you are going to do what you want. So you haven't trained anyone to expect for you to change and evolve and kind of do whatever you'd like to do. So I feel like we've kind of set a precedent, and that's such a nice thing about being in a new band. Like, especially, I came from a band that had already been around for like 5 years when I joined. So, having a new band is so amazing. It feels like there's just this completely clean slate, and you can just, people will embrace whatever you do because they have nothing to compare it to.
Definitely.
That of you selling out or you changing and not being the real you, because they don't really know the real us yet. They're all like discovering it. So it's a great situation to be in, I feel like.
I feel like there's as much self-discovery with Spiritbox within the band as there is with people, discovering you for the first time. Some people are familiar, with the iwrestledabearonce era and everything like that, but like I think you're showing so many different sides. I think there's discovery on all ends to be had.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like, yeah, it's like a bunch of people watching a social experiment of a bunch of 30 something like shot metalcore dudes all trying to figure out who we are, and they're all along for the ride. Like everyone's along for the ride as we try to figure out who we are. I feel like most bands are kind of, they've developed already. They already maybe have figured out who they are at this point, but I find it to be exciting that we want to be. And I do know that we have figured out that we want to focus more on songwriting rather than riff writing,
Yeah.
and trying to be as technical as possible. But at the same time, who knows, maybe in a couple of years, we'll want to go back to our really more proggy technical roots. I'm just really I'm very thankful that I feel like people will accept whatever we do because they can kind of understand that we are new and we're still trying to figure out who we are.
Hmm. Well, I think figuring out who you are, it's a blessing and a curse because you don't want to. And you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you experiment too
Yeah.
much, people will criticize you for being all over the place. If you have a formula, people will criticize you for being repetitive. So I think, do you almost kind of really want to figure out who you are in a way, or do you just kind of want to let things sort of fall into place in a way? Like you kind of like let it happen
Yeah.
organically.
That's such a great way to say that, because now that now that I think about it, you know, I mean, I've been writing songs for like 20 years, and I don't I don't know, I don't have like a identity. Because it's not, I don't think about it like that. It's I just always am just trying to like serve the song. Like I just think about it more like, what does this song need to sound good? And I think that I don't know if 20 years from now if I'll have figured it out. Like, I think you're right. I think that it's just one of those things that's going to always evolve. I bet a lot of musicians are like that. So it makes me feel less scared that I haven't figured out who I want to be, and what my songs are always going to sound like. And I wonder if I don't know, what do you think? Like, is that common? Should I be scared? Should I be worried?
I don't
Like, is
I don't know. I mean, I think not to sound too shallow, but I think it almost kind of maybe depends on the style. Like Cannibal Corpse, for
yeah.
example. I think they found out who they
Yeah.
were a long time ago, and people are going to embrace them regardless of what they put out. But what I love is just like Holy Roller and Constance, two completely different vibes, two different completely sounds, but it's still Spirit Box. I still hear your lyricism in it. And as somebody who listened to you from I Wrestled a Bear once, there was some, like knowing like, oh, let's see what they do differently.
Yeah.
And like I just think, you know what? Just continuing the destiny, artistic exploration. Like, you know, I think the only box that matters is Spirit Box, and I was waiting to use that line
Woo!
since like the first 2 minutes of this interview.
Yeah, maybe that's why it feels so like intimate, because like we have the closest relationship of anyone. Both of us are each other's closest confidant and person that we trust. So maybe that's why we feel like we can do anything, because we both trust each other so much. And then we have our friend Bill in the band too, and he's like, the brother that we never had. So I think we're all just like a little family, and so we all feel comfortable presenting all that stuff to each other. And we're also, because of that, we're all have no politeness, and we're all very hard on each other as well. So I think it makes for some very vulnerable music, because I feel comfortable in the studio, with all these people surrounding me that are my best buddies. And so then it's like makes for a good result, because then what people are hearing is something that I felt comfortable kind of bearing my soul about in a studio. And then now hopefully people will feel comfortable seeing me bare my soul when they're listening or watching a video.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably why.
Well, I think experimental music is also your specialty because I didn't know what to characterize I Wrestled a Bear once, and like people
Yeah.
like I mean that music was all over the place, like
Yeah.
and that's
Literally all over the place.
yeah. And like and what I think is great about Spirit Box is that there's like sort of like a sound that is evolving. Like art is life, so you kind of have to help you are kind of like its humble guide in a way, and I think you're guiding it to let the songs write themselves as well.
Yes, I think that like in Iwabo it was always just like it was like, what can we just put after this riff? Like, here's this riff. Let's find another one at the same BPM that we wrote. Let's stick them together. And that was just kind of our mentality, because it was really fun to just kind of throw in whatever we wanted, things that would kind of just were felt kind of novel and would make us laugh, and it was just a fun time. But in this band, I always like to say that like we take our music very seriously, but we don't take ourselves seriously at all. And I feel a lot more comfortable there, because I feel like I can get the point across that I want to get across, and like lyrically. So I still have fun, but I feel like I can like complete a sentence and complete a thought. you know, because it's the songs. Finally, I'm in a band where, and includes the beginning of the Spiritbox career. But like finally, this last couple of years, I feel like I'm in a band that like supports my vocals rather than me trying to always catch up to them and catch up to the drum, the guitar. And I feel like finally I have like, I've never felt like I had space in a song to just have them support my voice.
Yeah.
And now we're writing the songs more with me being a big part of that rather than me just trying to squeeze in a sentence over this riff.
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes to getting like that inspiration, that artistic drive to, create it, you mentioned you needed the music before you lay down the vocals and the lyrics, but do you almost kind of, it's one thing to hear the music, but then there's also the emotion that you have to channel into the song. Does that emotion come out of nowhere, or do you kind of like need to be in a certain element or be in a certain atmosphere for that inspiration to go through?
Gosh, it's kind of a little of both, because a lot of the times when I'm recording it, it's the first time I've ever performed the song. So there's a lot of little technical things that I realize, this part's a little tricky for me, or this is a little high. This note is a little out of my range. And so I'm kind of like, I'm trying to both, kind of get in like an actress, get into my feelings and try to emote something. But then I'm also in the back of my head thinking, all right, you're a little sharp there, you're flat there, you skip this note. So it's kind of a 50-50 of both. And it's just getting the take that where I nailed it and where I both sound good, but then I wasn't so like self-aware that I wasn't letting my emotion shine through in the song. Mm-hmm. So, I do it 10 times. One of those times will get me where both things connected. Mm-hmm. And then there's 9 takes where it's no one should ever hear it.
Well, you want to have technical excellence. You want to make the song. It's good to have some technical advice, but follow that too much, you're kind of enslaved and pigeonholed. But if you, but also you want to demonstrate emotion. But you also don't want to get lost and, fall into, a realm of chaos. So it is, like what you said, I think you need that 50-50 dichotomy.
Yeah, that's what helps me. And just having a great team, like just having our producer Dan there, having Michael and Bill and Zev there, like I think it's just like, it creates that little safe space that I need. And they're all cheering me on. I don't know what it is. I don't know if all singers are like this, but I think I have like imposter syndrome when I'm recording, where I just like start to get so, I just start to feel like I have no confidence at all. And I'm just like, this is bad. Everything's bad. And it's like, I need those guys to kind of bring me back down to earth and just be like, just focus on your songs. This is going to sound great. And it always does. I don't know why I do that. It's like my joke. I'm like, well, it's time for my first mental breakdown of recording, But I think a lot of people are like that are artists. It's like a constant battle between being like the most confident person in the world. It's like when you're on stage, you're like God, and then also just being the most low confidence person ever. You're just like shrink down, like you're like, I'm nothing. This sucks.
Well, every artist is their own worst. The worst enemy an artist ever has, and this goes for if you're a singer, if you're a painter, if you whatever. Like, an artist is always their worst enemy.
What is up with that?
Because I feel like I think a lot of it's rooted in education. We're taught to be in a certain way, but then we have a thought that's different, and we have a methodology of expressing it that and it's not meant to be, but digested by other people, it results in an experience that can either resonate with people or cause discomfort. I think that's the beautiful thing about art. And sometimes I think we as artists are humans, and we as humans are flawed. So the concept of perfection, which is a man-made concept, is also flawed. So I don't think perfection exists. So
yeah, that's why that's such a great way of putting that. That's why, is because we are trying to be perfect, but we can't be. So, and we're always like comparing ourselves to this perfect, not real, version of ourselves. It's like, this perfect, it's the perfect take and it's the perfect performance and blah, blah, blah. So that's probably why I think we all just need to chill out when we're in the studio and just have fun and not be so hard on ourselves. Makes it a lot easier when you have good people around you, though. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It does make it easier.
Well, there's the famous saying, we are what we create, and what we are is in fact flawed. So, with what we create, some people are going to deem it flawed, and, we deem it to be perfect. But again, the concept of perfection, I think, is also flawed. So,
yeah, we all need to that's gonna be my mantra going into recording this album, is like, just chill out. And maybe it will be the worst thing I've ever made because I I was too chill.
Well, then that's, if that's the case, then that's when I delete this interview off YouTube, because I'll get
I'll have to just go back to the self-loathing after.
Well, because I've noticed you mentioned, like, like imposter syndrome, or an imposter syndrome, do you almost feel like maybe in the album, and maybe this could also just be from watching the music video for Constance, as well as looking at your photo shoots and everything like that, do you almost feel like maybe that you're all portraying maybe characters in this music in a way?
It's like the most me I've ever felt, ever, in any music I've ever made, ever, because it's like I've always been someone who suffers from depression and anxiety, so most of these songs are about that, and it's the first time that I've ever made music where I couldn't hide from like the content of what I was singing about. I still get to hide behind metaphors and imagery and stuff, and I feel a lot more comfortable hiding behind those things rather than saying, being very literal in my lyrics of how I'm feeling. The song Constance, the chorus is probably like the most literal, or I talk about myself like in the first person. And I think that's probably a result of, because I finally feel like I'm making music where it's me. But I also haven't had the privilege of performing the music a lot live.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where your like superhero, larger than life you comes in. Like, I was watching an interview with Billie Eilish. Like, she does that thing where they ask her the same questions every year, and she watches her old questions. And that's something really interesting that she said this year. She said that she kind of had to step back because she feels like when she's listening to herself, like in real time being interviewed, she feels like she's like a parody of herself. It's like she's watching an actress do the lines as in the role of Billie, and it's not her, because she's like just kind of figured it all out, like the perfect formula. And I don't feel like that yet, but I think it's because I haven't. I think that like fake person will come out more when I'm able to perform these songs live.
Mm-hmm. Well,
because that's where you like hide in real life.
That's what led me to my final question, actually, because I hope to see Spiritbox live, when this whole pandemic that shall not be named is over. But would you say that, like, when you channel your live energy, is there maybe a similar element to playing live as there would be when you are songwriting, or do you consider that like a completely separate mind frame altogether?
I feel like generally I feel like out of body when I'm performing live. It's like I'm watching myself. I'm in the crowd watching, or I'm like, I can like see myself above, and I'm both really engaged, and it's so weird. I'm like both very present, but then I also have like a full internal monologue going at the same time. And it's like two brains, and one is like it's like I'm watching a movie, and the other one is like analyzing the movie. Or I guess it's like watching a football play and then like analyzing the play. So like both are happening simultaneously. So it's like that's how I am live. I'm really, it's like I actually like, well, literally in my head, I'm like, all right, you nailed that one. Now you have to walk over to that side of the stage because you have ignored those people. Oh, you messed up that note. All right, we got one more chance in the chorus. You're gonna come back around, blah blah blah. When I'm done performing, I'm like physically and emotionally just like spent. And I only ever play for like 30 minutes. I can't imagine like 2 hours how mentally like tired it is because you kind of are just like reliving all your songs all night, and even though you have that little voice in your head that's analyzing everything, it can only like protect you so much from how sad or how just emotional it makes you. But like I've never cried on stage or anything while I was singing.
Yeah.
It's like I'm acting, but I'm not, because it's me. It's like it's my song and it's my story. It's so really weird. I don't know, have you ever performed on stage or done like acting or anything?
I mean,
It's
I was in the
weird.
I was in the high school musical play in eighth grade, and that was abysmal on all fronts. So I mean, I don't know if that's the best analogy, but like, no, I guess maybe like every artist I've interviewed, and I've done thousands of interviews now. Like it's with the exception of Guar because it's freaking Guar, but like
Yeah, yeah.
I think for a lot of artists, when they're in a position where they're interviewing and talking about their art, that's almost expressing a different side of them than when they're actually performing it. So like I don't consider there to be such thing as an authentic interview in a way. When people go see you play, they want to hear the Spirit Box songs. They want to see all of you perform and share that experience. And if they watch an interview, thank you to all of you, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I feel like when an artist is talking about their work and presenting it and talking about what inspired it, it's almost like it's a different art altogether.
Hmm.
There's some artists who are both great interviewees and great performers, and then there's some where they're great performers but they're kind of shy and talking about talking about art, especially if it's about a traumatic experience, can also be difficult for them. So I think really all artists have multiple sides, and I think that the performance aspect is just one of the many sides an artist expresses themselves.
Yeah. I've never looked at that like that. That's very insightful. For for me, there's also like this other layer of I'm a girl, and it's like when I'm talking to someone I don't know, I have to really keep telling myself, like, you don't have to giggle and laugh and smile and be all bubbly and if that's not you. But it's like the light goes on and all of a sudden I'm like, like, because I've always been, as a girl, that's how I've always been taught, is like if I'm not smiling and if I have more calm energy like this, look like a bitch, and people are like, oh, she was so unwarm and uninviting. So I'm really trying to like retrain myself to not be like that and not be so self-deprecating as well, to make other people feel like less intimidated by me. So that's another thing I'm really bad at. Like I'm always, someone would be like, I love you're my favorite singer. And I'm like, oh, your favorite singer you heard today? Like, oh, so, feel bad for you. And it's like you have to just sit in it and not be so self-deprecating, because like who's winning here? Is it really making you seem like, what is my point? Why am I doing that? Why am I trying to make people feel comfortable, or why am I trying to make myself feel more comfortable with all these nice compliments? So it's weird. I feel like artists, we're all just like weird nerds, and so we're very bad at that stuff. And then I have that extra layer of like trying to be myself, the Stepford Wife version of myself. I'm trying not to be like that and just be the real me, um, which is kind of dorky too. But I I think that's like really hard for a lot of artists.
Yeah.
So what you said that really resonates with me.
Yeah, and
It's
I mean,
very insightful.
I'm sure as you also create, you learn a lot of things from working with different musicians and meeting different fans of your music and, connecting with people. We all learn from each other. That's one of the many great things about life, is that we all learn from each other, whether it's a positive or negative experience. You can't deny the fact that we've all learned from each other in a way.
Yeah.
So, and
That's the thing that I'm so sad about, like, um, not getting to tour this year, and it's looking great next year. I think we'll be everywhere that we can possibly be, but like just getting to have that experience of like meeting all these other artists and learning from them is something that we're lacking. That's what I really want. I want to get out there, and obviously I would love to play to their amazing fans and get more exposure for my band, but I just want to go on tour with all these other artists so that I can learn from them, because I'm 5 years out of touring and I have a lot to learn. We had a tour in March, but it got canceled halfway through in Europe because of the lockdown. Everything got shut down. But even like the 10 days I was there, I learned so much from all the other musicians on the tour and all the crew people. So I'm so looking forward to that
Yep.
again.
Well, even if it's like a 5 second encounter with somebody, you're gonna learn from them. I mean, Dave Mustaine wrote "Holy Wars" from their best song ever, simply from a kid in Ireland walking up to and saying "fuck you, Dave Mustaine" and spit in his face. That's how he came up with their best song ever, and that was a 2 second encounter. So
Man, it's great. That's the other thing, like the real life connection with all those. I don't want anyone spitting in my face, but like
yeah,
the real life connection of meeting these people. It's just all been online. I think that's why we liked all the reaction videos so much, because it's almost kind of like a simulation, like people reacting to our music, because it's like almost a simulation of getting to watch that in real life from the stage. We really missed that. So man, I can't wait to be able to play live music again. I already thought that I didn't take it for granted because it had been 5 years since I had done it, and I was wrong. I did take it for granted. Now I realize I did, and I think that goes for like most artists. I don't think that they will take it for granted again
yeah,
after getting it taken away. So I can't wait
yeah.
to go back.
I was saying that when this is over, we are going to enter the best era of art of all time, like a new aged like renaissance. And I think for all mediums, even somebody posted the funniest Facebook status, and there were a couple sad reacts to it, but I laughed my ass off, being like, "Please give us concerts. I promise I'll never ask what time the headliner's going on, or go to the bar during the openers. I promise to only buy merch when there's no bands on stage. Just please
Yeah,
give us shows back. This is karma."
please.
Yeah.
Yeah, please. I live on an island in Canada, so I've always been very appreciative as a fan of going to concerts, because we don't have the same opportunities to go to shows as some of our friends that live in more populous places, or that don't live on an island, so they can't just drive to anywhere that they want. But I think that the rest of the fans of music and all art are gonna people that just want to go see a movie in a movie theater, and everyone, I think people are gonna sadly it took a lot to get people to appreciate that stuff more, but I think that I think you're right. I think people are gonna have a much better understanding of all the work that goes into all that stuff and be more appreciative.
The fact that people are excited to go to the DMV just because of how much they need the social interaction, that goes to show that things will explode when this is over.
Oh my god, yeah. I can't wait to like hug people and stuff.
Yeah,
Just like
yeah,
simple stuff like that.
yeah. I never thought I would have missed getting knocked down in the pit so much.
I know. I can't even imagine the first time where that happens again. Like everyone's gonna be like weirded out until like two people start jumping around, and then everyone's gonna start jumping around. It's gonna be awesome.
Well, in the mosh pit, it only takes one snowflake to start an avalanche. So,
Yeah.
you know,
We need the one crazy guy in the camo shorts. He's gonna come and just start like spin kicking, and then everyone will follow suit. Everyone will get in there. I
yep.
can't wait. That's gonna be the best. Is when the first mosh pit happens that I see in real life.
Challenge to anybody watching this: be what I call the mosh pit messiah of your city. Initiate the first mosh pit at your first concert back. You'll be a hero.
Oh, I can't wait. Yeah, there's going to be all these. It's just going to be so many great memories for everyone. But I don't even want to like think about it yet, because it still feels so far away. And I keep doom scrolling and looking at all the news and stuff. So I'm just like, just don't think about it. But eventually we will get back to normal, and it's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Well, I recommend only doom scroll if it's going to influence music. You know,
Yeah,
I
it is.
Yeah, I already see so many lawsuits happening of people like taking lyrics from like certain news articles and incorporating that into their song.
Oops.
So, before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I really enjoyed this discussion. Is there just anything else with Spirit Box that you would like to promote? Can we maybe be getting some live stream performances to hold the fans over while we wait for, concerts to return, or is there anything else that you'd like to shout out?
I'm so excited for that because actually, when we were filming the music video for our song Constance, we got a call from Liquid Metal, the Sirius XM channel, that they wanted us to headline and do a virtual concert for them to play on the air. So we already did that, and it was so cool because it was so weird, like the audience I'm talking to are like people in their cars and they can't see me, and so it's weird because I've never had a live performance where like I'm wanting to visually connect with people be on the radio where they can't see me. And it's so fun to kind of just close my eyes and like pretend that I was on stage and playing a full set again, from front to back. And then we also recorded video of us doing it. So eventually we'll, after we have it on the radio and stuff, we'll put out live performance videos of us doing it. And it's kind of like a little concert simulation. It definitely made me miss it a lot. So I can't wait to put that out too. And after that, it's just, we're such a new band. Like every week, something else cool happens that we hope to take advantage of, and we hope to have an opportunity from. So I don't know what's going to happen for us in 2021, but I do know that the first part is just going to be us focusing on producing this album and getting it done and turning it in, and then we can like move on and start focusing on the other part of the big picture of the band. But I hope everyone likes the live performance thing. It was really fun to do.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Courtney. Everybody, we are here with Courtney of Spirit Box. Be sure to check out the two new singles, Holy Roller and Constance. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We will see you next time.